Shalom. Um, it's Gavriel. I mean, I think the title pretty much says everything, doesn't it? Another dead Jew. We don't have his name yet, but a Palestinian succeeded in doing what so many Palestinians dream of doing and murdered a Jew yesterday in a small community called Adam. This is from the Times of Israel article entitled, "After Deadly Attack, IDF Sends More Troops to West Bank, Raids Expected." The Israeli military said it would bolster troop presence in the West Bank and was expected to carry out overnight raids after a Palestinian assailant sneaked into a West Bank settlement and stabbed 3 people, killing 1. An Israel Defense Forces spokesperson said late Thursday it was sending 2 more brigades to the West Bank following the deadly attack in Adam. The move comes even as Israel has raised its military alert level in the Golan and along the Gaza border amid flare-ups there. The army said troops would be operating in Palestinian villages without offering details. The announcement came as the military continued to pursue the possibility that an accomplice in the stabbing attack remaining on the loose. Eyewitnesses in Adam reported seeing a suspicious vehicle leaving the settlement shortly after the attack, raising suspicions. The IDF was widely expected to enter the town of Khobar, where stabbing suspect Mohammed Tariq Youssef is from, during overnight raids. According to Israeli authorities, Youssef climbed over Adam's security fence sometime before 9 p.m. Thursday. He then walked deeper into the settlement, crossing a playground area, where he encountered a 31-year-old resident and stabbed him repeatedly in the upper torso. He died after being rushed to a Jerusalem hospital. The victim's name has not been released for publication. A second resident, 58, was also stabbed after arriving on the scene. He was rushed to a hospital in serious condition, but it was upgraded to moderate after doctors managed to stabilize him. A third resident, 41, went outside to investigate the disturbance and, realizing that an attack was occurring, shot the Palestinian terrorist 3 times, killing him. He was stabbed and lightly injured during the encounter. The attack broke months of relative calm in the West Bank, which has seen only sporadic clashes between Palestinians and troops, and a marked decrease in terror attacks. I'm not going to read the rest, it's not really that relevant. So, a Palestinian climbed a fence and stabbed a Jew to death. Stabbed another Jew and hurt him really bad. Stabbed a third Jew, and that Jew, thankfully, Baruch Hashem, was armed, pulled a gun, and shot and sent the rat bastard to hell where he belongs. Just so we're all on the same page here, there is a reason why we have fences around our communities in Judea and Samaria. There is a reason why there is a separation fence around the entire region of Yehuda v'Shamron, or what you want to call the West Bank, whatever. There is a reason that there is a fence that is patrolled by armed troops between us and Gaza. Gazans are way more radical than the people living in Yehuda v'Shamron. Way more radical. Do you people understand why we shoot people that try to cross our border? Do you get it? People, they bemoan the point. Oh, the Palestinians don't have an air force, they don't have an army, they don't have tanks. You know what? This guy didn't have an army or a tank or an air force either. All he needed was a knife. He needed a knife and an opportunity, and he got it. In a moment of lax security, I don't know what the security procedures or situation is in Adam. I have no idea. But he managed to get over the fence, walk into the heart of a community, and stab a man to death, and injure 2 other men before being killed. People think that our measures are harsh when we shoot at people trying to breach our border fence. Do you understand why now? Do you get it? I don't think you do, because I'm sure you'll bring it up. You'll bring up the point. Oh, he was just a settler. He probably shouldn't have been there anyway, which is really dehumanizing and shitty. Okay? Regardless of what you think Israel's settlement policy should be, there is no justification for this animal like behavior. There are plenty of Jews I know that have grievances against the Palestinians, that have lost loved ones, have lost friends, have lost maybe limbs in terror attacks. You don't see Jews walking into Palestinian villages and stabbing random people to death. It does not happen. Do not put us on the same moral plane as these people. We're not. Why is it that Palestinians find it so easy to pick up knives and go stab random Jews? Is it because the occupation, because the so-called occupation of a country that's not even theirs? I'm mad because I've been up all night at my work. Some of you know what I do for a living. I'm not really going to go into that right now because of the flare-ups here. And that's not why I'm mad. I'm happy to do my job. I love my job. Keeping people safe. I love it. But you know what? If you think it's so easy for an Arab to pick up a knife and start stabbing Jews because of a political grievance, why don't we see Tibetans picking up knives and stabbing Chinese? Tibetans have been treated far, far worse than Palestinians have by China. Far worse. There are numbers and scores of stateless peoples that have been treated far, far worse than anything the Palestinians have ever experienced, that did not react by having their young men and sometimes women and little kids pick up knives and stab people. In 1929, in Hebron, there is no state of Israel. There are no settlements. There is no quote unquote occupation. There's a community with a Jewish presence going back thousands of years. And their Arab neighbors turned on them. These were anti-Zionist religious Jews. This was not a political grievance. Okay? There's an uncomfortable fact that a lot of you people need to get into your heads. The Arab and Islamic world is virulently anti-Semitic at its heart. Oh no, you can't say that. Yeah, I can. Mostly because it's true. That's why I can say it. When your prophet, when your holy man that you revere, was a mass murdering warlord who began his political career by beheading all the male members of a Jewish tribe in Medina and driving the rest of the Jews out of the Arabian Peninsula, what kind of civilization is that going to spawn as far as relations with Jews go? I'll tell you what, an oppressive, violent civilization towards us. That's what it creates. You think people think this started in 1967 or 1948? This is 1,400 years. In 1834, Arabs were stabbing Jews in places like Sfat, Hebron again. This is decades before political Zionism. In Fez, Morocco, you had a massacre of Jews. In Tripoli, in Libya, in Iraq, Hamida, Iran. Oh, Iran, even in Shia-controlled Iran. Absolutely terrible. This is the culture that the Palestinians come from, the Arab Islamic world. They've hated us for 14 centuries. Don't try and blame it on a house that was built 10 years ago on a disputed piece of territory. Don't insult my intelligence. I want to read you a couple of different things. Expand your mind. This is from Maimonides' Igeris Teman, which is his epistle to Lem. He wrote a letter to the Jewish community in Yemen in the year 1172. The nation of Ishmael persecute us severely and devise ways to harm us and to debase us. None has matched it in debasing and humiliating us. None has been able to reduce us as they have. We have done as our sages of blessed memory instructed us, bearing the lies and absurdities of Ishmael. We listen but remain silent. In spite of all this, we are not spared from the ferocity of their wickedness and their outbursts at any time. On the contrary, the more we suffer and choose to consolate them, the more they choose to act belligerently towards us. No, for almost 800 years ago, that sounds pretty much like today. We can be as nice and as docile towards them as they want, and they'll still have outbursts towards us and murder us. And he would know. He would know. Most of the moving that Maimonides did in his lifetime was because of Muslim persecution. He was born in Cordoba, Spain. The Almohads, a radical dynasty, took over. And traditionally there were three choices. You can convert to Islam, pay the jizya, the poll tax, and continue to practice your religion, or we can behead you. The Almohads gave the Jews basically three choices as well. You can convert, we can behead you, or we can throw you out. You can leave. So Maimonides left to Morocco. And eventually he went to Eretz Yisrael, and then he went to what is now Al-Kahira, Cairo in Egypt, where he lived out the rest of his life. I'm not finished. The Jews are said never to pass under the triumphal arch of Titus in Rome. But if they were to react in a similar way to the many bitter memories they have of their treatment in Muslim countries, I dare not guess where they would find a route not closed by like prohibitions. That's Abe Goddard and Le Maroc. That's in 1858. So here he's talking about oppression of Jews by Muslims, bitter treatment at the hands of Muslim countries in 1858. You're going to blame that on the occupation of 1967? Or the creation of Israel in 1948? I don't think so. Here's a Quranic passage about us. This is what they think about us. This is what a religious Arab Muslim thinks about us and what he believes about us. Yeah, I know, it's not PC to say that. Yeah, of course, there are some exceptions. There are some Muslims that ignore their own religion and are okay. I get it. They're not so bad. And humiliation and wretchedness were stamped upon them, and they were visited with wrath from Allah. That was because they disbelieved in Allah's revelations and slew the prophets wrongfully. That was for their disobedience and transgression. That's Quran 261. Al-Majili, a prominent theologian in Morocco in the late 15th century, this is from a verse that he composed. Love of the Prophet requires hatred of the Jews. This is from Sirhindi. He was an important Indian Sufi theologian. Sufis tend to be much more moderate, but I guess as an exception. This is in the early 17th century. This is a direct quote. Whenever a Jew is killed, it is for the benefit of Islam. This is what they think of us. Here's a quote from Muhammad Sayyid Tantawi, the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar University in Cairo since 1996. He wrote a book called Banu Israel fil al-Quran wa al-Sunnah, Jews in the Quran and in the Traditions. It's published in 1986. The Quran describes the Jews with their own particular degenerate characteristics, i.e. killing the prophets of Allah, corrupting his word by putting them in the wrong places, consuming the people's wealth frivolously, refusal to distance themselves from the evil they do, and other ugly characteristics caused by their deep-rooted lasciviousness. Only a minority of the Jews keep their word. All Jews are not the same. The good ones become Muslims, the bad ones do not. This is from the head imam of Al-Azhar University. That's the university that ordains most of the great scholars in Sunni Islam. Jews who do not convert to Islam are inherently bad. The only good Jews become Muslims. Nice. Here's one. Abd al-Rahman al-Sudais. He's the imam and preacher at the Al-Haram Mosque, which is the most important mosque in Mecca, the holiest site in Islam. This is dated April 19th, 2002. Read history and you will understand that the Jews of yesterday are the evil fathers of the Jews today, who are evil offspring, infidels, distorters of others' words, calf worshippers, prophet murderers, prophecy deniers, the scum of the human race whom Allah cursed and turned into apes and pigs. These are the Jews, an ongoing continuum of deceit, obstinacy, licentiousness, evil, and corruption. Are you getting it? This is the mindset that they come from. We're not fully human to them. It has nothing to do with fucking borders or an occupation or the status of Jerusalem or land. Well, I take that back. It actually has everything to do with all of those things from the standpoint of we're not allowed to have borders. We're not allowed to have land. We're not allowed to have Jerusalem because we're filthy kafirs. We're filthy infidel son of apes and pigs. That's what they think of us. We are so dehumanized to them that a 15-year-old, I'm sorry, this bastard that was shot yesterday was 17. What were you doing when you were 17? Did you think it yourself even capable of picking up a knife when you were 17 and going and stabbing someone? Did you think you could even do that? I know I couldn't. I know I couldn't do that. Stabbing someone takes a lot of psychological conditioning. And guess what? They have it. They get it every day from the moment they're born. In their mosques, in their schools, from their parents, from their teachers, from their media, from their universities. Jews are not people. And violence against them is laudable. Get it through your head. Don't you even think about commenting any bullshit about Islamophobia. Accusing a Jew of being Islamophobic is the height of chutzpah. A phobia is an irrational fear. Islam calls for our genocide. It is the only world religion that does. Wake the hell up.